What is the purpose of design thinking to begin with? It's a way of looking at things and how we can frame the situation, or how are we going to look at problems in a different light. And this is what we're trying to do here. And that's the reason why we are using a lot of different tools, fun tools, to proceed with your business plan or in drafting the roadmap. Yes. Oh, request for camera for Doc Alvin. All right. So yeah, I will appreciate if you could turn on your cameras. Thank you so much. So now, without further ado, if you don't have any questions at this point, I would like to thank Tony for sharing the groupings, because I know you're working with your own respective groups about a setup or a problem that you would like to address, wherein you will build your business model. And of course, from there, you will build your pitch deck. And our last session next week will be the anatomy of the pitch deck. So we definitely will have to talk about what's in the pitch deck and what are the judges would love to see or to hear when you deliver your compelling pitch. So with that, I will start sharing my screen so we can work on the business model canvas. How many of you here have started working with your teammates to proceed developing your design thinking canvas? Has anyone did anything for the past few days? Hmm?
Actually, I'm on the for the health team. Actually, we've started, although very roughly. We took the mural template and we started filling it out with the idea we had for healthcare, ma'am. For
Oh, okay, great, great. That's excellent. I don't expect that you will have something really concrete, but at least you have the draft or something to start with. That's important. Something that you will have to build as we proceed with our lessons for tonight, or our session for tonight. So again, good morning to those who are just joining us, and I would definitely appreciate if you could turn on your cameras. Thank you, Doc Alvin. Welcome, Jem. Hi. All right. So we are going to talk about the business model canvas tonight. In the past or last session, we covered the design thinking canvas, but I am I'm in my opinion, I believe that the business model canvas, which I mentioned also last time, will be the best roadmap for you to use in developing your pitch deck. And I shared with you some links for the business model template and also a short video about the business model canvas. Can I see hands here of those who have some experience using the business model canvas? Not yet? Oh, yeah. Oh, Johari, yes. Okay. Can you share a little bit of your experience using the template?
So we were taught by UP. So we have a new unit, Technology Transfer Business Development Office. So we were trying to, well, we have a startup, and then though they taught us how to use it. So I'm a beginner when it comes to that strategizer canvas.
Yes,
So
strategizer
it's
is the
yeah, it's
one.
where you put all these things so that it will guide you how you will approach it. Like, what do I have? What will I need to think of in terms of who my target consumers or something like that, and
Mm-hmm.
then the resources that I need, the added value, what do I have and what I don't have. So it's sort of like a guide, a quick look, like something. It's a summarized business plan. I think that's the term. It's a that you can always look at and guide you and what needs to be done, something like that.
Yes, yes, you're right. It's a guide. It's almost like your compass. It's almost like your navigator in really developing your business plan. These days, business schools, at least here in the US, if you're in an entrepreneurship program, we don't use the business plan anymore, because the business plan is for those who already have a running business, something that is already more established and stable. Because as a startup, you only have an idea. So what you really need is just some kind of like a roadmap. So it summarizes all the different things that you would need to understand and cover the various facets of your business operation as a startup. So that's perfect illustration or example that you provided. So I'll share my screen now to talk about the canvas. All right. So I'll share. But again, okay. Can you see my screen now? Did some of you download this template? It's on the, let me just see if I have it here. Let me just go and share it with you.
It was in the email. I think it was a link.
Yes, it was a link in the email. And in case that you have not downloaded it, you can still download it from not the PDF, but you can also see it or view it through the mural link that I also shared. But let's now go back to the PDF file. All right, let me see. Okay, let's do it. So, and you know, my style is that it has to be more interactive. So I would ask a lot of questions, and I would definitely prefer that you provide some answers from your own point of view, from your own respective industry. But I will give you just an overview of what is this about. So the first thing that we have to understand is that what can you offer as a new entrepreneur or as a new player in the space you are in, agriculture or education or IT. So you're thinking of new ways of or new offerings to offer or to provide to your particular set of users. And that's the reason why we talk about design thinking, because it all begins with empathy. How do you feel if you're the user of the product? Hence the rise of the concept of user experience. So from this canvas, you could see that there are 9 sections to this. What do you think is the first section that we need to focus on, or the first section we need to fill out? So you have key partners, key activities, value propositions, customer relationships, customer segments, and so on. What do you think is the first one that we need to talk about? Imagine that you are
Key partners.
which one, Tony?
For me, it's the key partners.
Key partners, okay. That's good. Because imagine if you are actually developing whatever idea you have and you're going to pitch it. And I'm
Value
sure you've
proposition.
seen value propositions, yes. Because once you are in front of the audience, what is key there is how are you going to call their attention? What makes your idea unique from the current players in the market today? Remember last week we talked about the idea space, grounded ideas, blue sky ideas, and those that are out there, you know? So meaning if you have an idea, what is it that would make people buy your product or buy your proposal or switch to your company that would make it so different from what they are using right now? So that's what you call value proposition. Because at this moment, if I ask you, why would you prefer Apple versus Samsung? You would definitely have your own reason that separates or make Apple unique from Samsung, Xiaomi, and Nokia, and the other players. And so same with cars. Why some people would prefer Subaru, or why would Tesla became so hugely successful? So it has to begin with the value proposition. And then you have to go through the next segment. Now you know that you have this compelling value proposition. For example, you would like to address, and can you give me one of the ideas you have so we can use that as an example here? Anyone who would be pitching on the 20th and you'd like that idea to be a sample here on what we can, just a little bit. We will not cover everything, but just that so that I will have one particular product or service that all of you can resonate with.
Vivian.
Mhm.
A device for island telemedicine.
A device for island telemedicine.
Yes.
Mhm. When you say island telemedicine, can you brief me more about it?
So essentially, these are remote places in the Philippines that are not receiving health services. So we
Okay,
would,
all right.
yeah,
Okay,
so we would
all right.
extend these telemedicine services now to them, which is
Okay, yeah,
previously not available.
yeah. Very, very, very much needed, especially by these remote and rural areas, especially marginalized communities in far-flung provinces. So telemedicine, for example, there are existing ones because here also in the US, it is happening. Telemedicine is becoming to be more and more the norm these days. So, what would make your offering different from the ones that are offered in the market today?
We are
Anyone
lost
can
reading.
answer that.
Any others? Yes, please. Maybe we should hear from the others.
Did I miss anything? Anything that makes you think that your offering is different from the ones in the market now? I'll give you an example because a lot of telemedicines or telemedicine providers are competing for customers here. But others would say that they are open 24/7, meaning accessibility. That's a value proposition. While others would say that they have highly trained specialists that other providers do not offer. So when I am thinking of who am I going to consider, aside from those who are within my network, because my medical providers, I have to make use of somebody who is within my network, but I have to choose. I want somebody who is 24/7. I want somebody who actually has a broad or diverse set of practitioners. I want somebody who speaks Tagalog. And it's a major consideration here, language. So maybe in the Philippines, dialects. So think along those lines. Or others can make pricing as a value proposition. When you think about Walmart, their value proposition is low prices every day. It's all about affordability. So think about accessibility, affordability, specialty or specializations, or customer service. You would have a customer service that are highly empathetic and understand you, speaks the language. Those are kind of value propositions. So now with your team, this is what we're going to do, is that you now start thinking what makes you unique. What makes you competitive? Because the key here is differentiator. What differentiates you and what makes you actually more desirable? Remember, we talked about the Venn diagram last week, that you have to focus on the feasibility of the idea, because there are some ideas which are great, but unfortunately, they are not feasible at this point in time. All right. And then also the desirability and then the viability. So now that we have the value proposition, and you should use this, for example, some of you in the field of education, if you're going to offer an online program, there's so many online programs nowadays. And in fact, many of those are free. But what are your value propositions that I would choose you over the 10,000 other players? So it could be that, again, you have the, stackable curriculum. Oh, yes. Do you, Harry?
Yes, actually, you just mentioned it because we from CLab, we're actually also based in UP. So we have that advantage to be from the academe. So in terms of telemedicine in geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas, the use of a telemedicine device, it's not really the doctor doing it to the patient, but maybe a health worker, a nurse or a midwife using an ultrasound device that we teach them. So we develop those modules, those proprietary modules, maybe something like that. And then from there, if they can do the procedure by themselves, no, they don't need a doctor. Well, usually it's a doctor doing it. So if a midwife can do it, and then a doctor on one end, maybe in Manila, in Cebu, in some urban center, will interpret this the results of these telemedicine devices. So maybe I think that's an added value because here in the Philippines, wala masyadong health workers sa rural areas, no? So, and then ang health workers na ito are very limited ang kanilang skills and knowledge. So we do capacity building, proprietary modules for this one. So maybe that's one.
Yeah,
what I can think.
definitely.
Yep.
You can actually add it on to that. I am hoping that at this point, some of you had your scratch pad and writing down the value propositions. And thank you for unmuting yourself because I couldn't see the hand raised. sometimes, so just unmute yourself. So thank you. So that's perfect value proposition. Now, when you can, because it always begins with that idea, have a better idea. But now, well, you have to think who would be my target market, and you answered it earlier. Dr. Alvin said that it's going to be the marginalized communities or those who are living in rural areas, etc. Then you talk about customer segments. You have to list it down here. Like what I said last time, there is no such product as a product for everyone. It's a false claim that this product will be used by everybody. There would be some modifications, there would be some differences that would be needed to address a different market segment. So at this point in time, you have to list down here your customer segments. You see this one here? All right, the customer segments. All right. So after that, so you list everything here. You might probably have a primary target market and then your secondary target market. Those are the ones you would benefit from the telemedicine. Now, the next thing here is that how am I going to make this product accessible to these users? All right, how are you going to make them access the products? And I'll leave it up to you now. How are you going to do that? Can you give me an example based on your ideas or your plans as of the moment?
Actually, so our customer segments. Well, this is just I just thought of this now. So it's really the government, the local government units. I think will be our client that will cater to the indigents, those like the farmers who doesn't have really the resources to access this technology. So in terms of channels, so of course channels is the technology, right? Like what are we gonna do? Are you gonna use to provide this service? Am I right? Okay, so
Yeah.
it's technology based. So it should be, of course, interconnectivity, interoperable devices, internet should be there at least. And then we'll have different devices. Like in our case, we are developing different medical devices in UP. So we have like the e-stethoscope, the 2D echo that's gonna be portable. So things like that will be used. And then internet access to transmit all these messages. So those are the channels, I guess.
The channels, you're right. You're still on course because the channels are the ones that you're going to use to make these products available to your target market. And like what you said, it's going to be delivered through the internet. That's a platform that you would use. So definitely the internet would be here. So it's going to be online. If you are thinking of, just for example, education, because I'm in that field right now. So for us, let's say I develop a program, which I'm doing now because I have consulting services aside from being a faculty in a university here. So the value proposition I have is more applied, it's more practical, it's condensed, etc. And then the channel that I use is that online, that is one way, and also in person. So for products and services that are still available through brick and mortars, you would have two channels here. And then you will have to also consider what kind of relationships are you going to have with your target market. Like what you said, your target market would be people from the provinces who don't have access to healthcare, hospitals, and so on. So what kind of relationship are you going to have with them? See, here it is a little bit tricky because it's not easy to understand what do we mean by customer relationships, okay? So let me just ask questions at this point because I am, again, hitting everything without really checking in if everybody have seen the video. Because it is important that you have an overview of what the BMC and each section is before I could actually apply or make you work on this template. Can I see hands here? And it's perfectly fine if you haven't seen the video, the BMC video, the overview. Because I'll play it. It's a short one. Miguel, you've seen it? You watched the video?
Haven't seen it, ma'am.
Oh,
Yeah,
you have not. Okay, no problem.
Just very short.
No problem, because I think it pays that we watch it together so everybody will be on the same page. This is just a short snippet of what this is about, right? So let's do this.
Hi, my name is Alex Osterwalder. I'm the lead author of Business Model Generation and the co-founder of a company called Strategize. I'm going to talk to you about a business tool called the Business Model Canvas. With the Business Model Canvas, you can assess existing business models or map out new ideas. It gives you a share language. There are 9 building blocks to explain any business model. Of course, you have the customers who you create value for, and you have the value proposition, which makes explicit what value you create for each customer segment. Then you ask yourself, how are you reaching your customers, through which channels? And once you have customers, you're building up a customer relationship, which could be automated like Amazon or very personal like a private bank. Once you made explicit how you create value, you define how you're capturing that value. What are your revenue streams? That's what I like to call the front stage. Then we have the key resources, all of the things you need to have, the assets to create that value, like intellectual property, like factories, maybe a brand. Then you define the key activities, the things you need to be good at performing to create that value. And of course, in the 21st century, you work with key partners to leverage your business model. And once you have this, what I like to call backstage, you can define your cost structure. So at the end, business is very simple. You create value, you capture value. You need to define what it takes to create that value and what it costs you. And you need to make more money than you spend. I hope you learned something with the Business Model Canvas. Thank you very much. If you want to learn more, go to strategizer.com.
All right. Did it help? All right. So it's just an overview. I know, because when we teach this, it's almost entire. Sometimes it's 2 weeks, 8 hour, two sessions of 8 hour each to have a better understanding of the model. But given our limited time, that's why I'm sending a lot of other materials for you to have a better, to grasp what we're trying to do before we apply. So let's do it again. So questions at this point? Any question? None yet? Okay. So if you don't have any question, let us work on the business model again. All right. So now customer relationships, because you now know your target market, you know that you have to reach them through the internet, meaning online connectivity. Now, what kind of relationships do you envision you're going to have with these clients? Is it transactional? Is it more longer term? How would you describe if you're seeing these patients, or if you're not even the doctor? You said that there will be different healthcare providers. What do you think these users or patients would look for in terms of relationships?
I think for our product, or at least our use case, we're looking at possible 2 customer segments. Like, one is directly on the patient, the other are the healthcare providers themselves. And we envision really something, it's not contractual, it's not one-off, it's going to be something a bit more like a subscription service, that they're dependent on us to provide a service that they use to provide their own service. That's one way we can think about it.
Yes. Thank you. That was very good, because when you think about that, you don't want a one-off, one-shot deal, because it's not like you're buying a chewing gum. Now, there are products that you really consume one time and you don't care about where do you buy it, because it doesn't matter. Chewing gum is a chewing gum. Or let's say sugar, a pack of sugar is a pack of sugar. But when you think of certain products, it really requires some kind of like loyalty. And if you're looking for healthcare solution, I think it's important to look for stability. You want customer relationship that is lasting, and you want them to become a repeat customer. That's the essence of every business. You don't want customers to try you because you're a new brand. And I know many people would do that for restaurants. Oh, there's a new restaurant in what's this places in Makati. I can't remember anymore. But let's say you're going to Makati and then you go to, there's a new place there. But the question is that would you be going back? In fact, coupons here in the US, I don't know if you're familiar with Groupon, that people are getting it 50% discount, and then a lot of people would go only because of the coupon, but the repeat behavior, the customers coming back is very low. The rate of repeat customers is very low. So that's why Groupon is saying that no, it's not worth it. So same with this. What are the customer relationships that you are trying to envision? And then what's the next thing we have to talk about? Remember, it costs you money to deliver these value propositions. It would, even if you're not an entrepreneur, if you are the head of a department, I think the Department of State or Department of Defense, etc., it takes money to run that division. So what are you going to do to capture value from your users? So you can always apply this model even if you are running a nonprofit, even if you are running a state department or tourism department and so on. So when we think of your particular example, what would be the sources of income, which we call now the revenue streams, when you deliver this value proposition to your users? Can you identify a few? I'll pick up. Yeah, okay, go ahead,
Well, for us,
Jerry.
so as Miguel mentioned, so subscription, and then the maintenance and tech support. Because if you're going to provide like the telemedicine devices aside from the network, so it should be maintained, some form of maintain and tech support because it's technology based. So there should be, well, part of the subscription should be the tech support also. So that's an add-on maybe. So for
Okay.
very thorough tech support, it will be more expensive. For basic,
Mhm.
so
All right. That is actually perfect because subscription, it's a flat rate subscription that has a minimum menu of services. So that's one source. Number two source is that special fees if they need to have more one-on-one personalized kind of support. So that's fees, fee-based support revenue. So now you have two. And then probably you would also start selling some of these services. The I don't know what's services that you would sell. Can you give one example?
for example, if we are going to provide a device that will do um, 2D echo, so of course the device is for sale. So the maintenance for that one is for sale, and the interpretation of the whatever it's going to do, it's for a fee aside from probably the subscription. I don't know. It's something like that.
Yeah, well, that's fine because, for example, if you look at it in a simpler point of view, especially from business model point of view, that is merchandise sale. Because if you have subscription for services, now you have merchandise sale. And now what are those merchandise? It could be supplies, it could be equipment and so on and so forth. So you have three revenue streams right away. And then also, if you have experts who are willing to provide one-on-one consultation, then you could have consulting fees. So you can identify different revenue streams. So just keep on adding more and more potential sources of revenues. And remember, in design thinking, we don't want to shoot the idea right away. It could be laughable at this time, but just put it there. Because as we move forward, remember in design thinking, there would be a time that we have to prune these ideas. But at this point, just write everything there. Put everything. You don't want to miss anything. This is not the time to cut them and not the time to laugh at it. You can laugh, but don't feel disheartened that, oh, this is really maybe a stupid idea. I don't even want to open my mouth. So please don't do that because you are actually now curtailing creativity. So now we're done with the first part. There's a question?
Yeah. So when you say merchandising, it's like being a marketplace is also part of that. I'll tell this possible customer, okay, I have different telemedicine devices. I can offer you different telcos subscriptions, whatever. So that can be one, right? Like you're a marketplace
Yeah.
or a
Now
virtual
you're talking
marketplace.
about Yeah, what you're saying now, yeah, because you're a platform, you're technically here a platform, all right, a business platform. Now you're becoming a marketplace. So that's what you call your third party revenues. So you will now have, for example, Globe, no? And then through your platform, they would have some kind of like discounted pricing. And then of course you get revenue from Globe for being kind of like the a platform to sell their services. And remember, collaborations with different companies. Like, for example, you're selling those merchandise. You don't have to keep inventory of those supplies, medical supplies, and medical equipment. You could just be like an agent, an intermediary. So that's what you call commissions. So that's another revenue stream. The commissions you generate from those, especially if your website or your e-commerce site is generating a lot of traffic, you could also have advertising revenue. So meaning some medical equipment companies can advertise through your website, and that's another revenue stream. Am I making sense here? Or questions? I'm open to questions, and I would appreciate if I hear from people either a question, a feedback, or like an anecdote that would connect with what we are talking about here. Because I know you have a lot of ideas. What I'm trying to do here is put a structure around those ideas and put them in respective places. Because this is where you will extract your pitch deck. Okay. So the right side, we're already done because these are really the beginning of your business planning. It all begins with that. Now, let's go to the left side because you have an interesting value proposition, but what would it take for you to deliver those? And this is really the hardest part. What are the key resources that you need to make it happen? For example, a strong internet connection, because this is an online service platform. So you need the internet connection. That would be under key resources. Any other key resources that you have in mind?
Reliable power.
All right, power. Yes, power. Because you might have internet connection, but if you don't have power, that's going to be a big problem too. Things are not going to happen. Power. So think about infrastructure surrounding your product or your idea. And people are resources too. Remember that the most important resource is human capital. So how about people who would be running the show for you? So people would be
Yep.
there. What kind of people?
Local tech support.
All right. Oh, it's okay. So you can classify now tech people, local tech people, because they have to be locally available. And then also you can think of financial capital, because this will entail cost for you to start this growing. Although there's a lot of crowdfunding sites now, there's a lot of other angel investors and so on, but you have to indicate there that capital is also a key resource that you need. And then key activities, you identify the sources, but what are those activities that you need to put in place to deliver the value proposition? For example, hiring. Hiring is a key activity because building a team, and I don't know if you guys are watching Shark Tank. Are you familiar with Shark Tank?
Yes.
Yes, right? Yeah, and if you notice, those sharks are always asking, who are your team members? Or who are the people behind this company? Because it's important. You might have an interesting idea, but execution is different and you cannot execute it alone. So one of the key activities is hiring, getting together these key team members who will put together all these activities and key resources in place so that you can deliver the value proposition to customer segments you identified. So hiring is one of those. Any other activities you have in mind to make this idea happen?
The training part, because well, we're going to hire them, but they need to know what they need to do. Is that also
They need
part
to
of it?
know what they need to do. Then training. Training is key resource, a key activity. Thank you, Ryan is saying the pool of medical professionals. Yes, data manager. Yeah, that's part of hiring, right? And then training. What else are you supposed to do to put these things together?
Probably the timeline, ma'am.
All right, identifying timeline. So you have to set your budget, you have to set your goals, and then of course the critical timeline and so on. So now, without key partners, because no one is an island, we know this, the collaboration and co-creation is key to all these successes that we have seen today. Like here, we know that Apple and Samsung are key competitors, but they are also suppliers of each other's products and services. And so the same with other companies, they compete with Amazon, but you could see them also using Amazon to sell some of their products. So now you think about your key partners here. To make it happen, you have to work with, and I think you mentioned earlier, Gio Harry, the local government.
Yes, local government.
Okay, the local government is one of your key partners. Who else?
Private organizations.
Private organizations, yes, they definitely could have, yes, the PhilHealth, yes, the Department of Health, yes, marketers, yes, because you really need a strong marketing campaign for people to embrace the idea of telemedicine. So yes, marketing would play a crucial role. So you have marketers, financial institutions. Don't forget they are your key partners because they will have to pay through credit cards, debit cards, or whatever form of payment. If it's going to be Apple Pay or what's the equivalent of Apple Pay there in the Philippines? You pay on your phone.
Maya.
Cash.
GCash, yes, GCash. So then it means that, and Maya, yes, you're right. I just saw them here in the US. They are actually rolling out some of their products and services. So think along those lines. Number one, imagine it. And this is why imagination is so crucial when you're doing design thinking and doing ideation. Imagine an end-to-end process. I am a client. How can I learn about your product? How can I learn about the channels that I can use to use your product and services? And how can I pay you? All right, so end to end. So now list all those partners you have in mind. And lastly, the last block that we have here is cost structure, because you are promising a lot of different things, this medical services and all this excellent equipment, etc., technology, but what would it cost you? Couriers also is great. Technology owners, yes, like Globe and yeah, all of those. So the cost structure here would be, it is ideal that you list them all. Really like bullet points. You don't have to create an essay or paragraphs, just list them. This is just a business model canvas. So list them here. What are the other things that you could think of? Looking at community-based organizations, that is so good, true. CBOs, yes, was one of your key partners. Right, that's true. And if you are actually working on your murals now, I hope that you are also already trying to plug in some of those answers, these amazing answers you have on the chat box. You can plug them in into each of these respective sections of your mural. And then as a team, just keep on, adding more to it. And then eventually we can start really polishing them, tightening them to come up with a really viable material you can use for your pitch deck. So cost structure, again, it will cost you to have the technology delivered. So you will have to pay your own subscription to Globe or to, what's the other one? What's a competitor of Globe? I'm sorry, I'm really lost about the brands there now. Smart.
Smart and Dito.
Smart.
Yes,
Smart PLDT.
PLDT. Okay, so you have to pay them, right? So that's one cost on your part. And then what are the other costs?
MOOE, utilities.
Utilities, all right. You have to pay your power. You have to pay your if you have your landline, you still have to pay those. Okay. Salaries and wages. Definitely you will have to pay those people. So just try to imagine your little balance sheet or your little financial statement. What are the operating costs? But of course, as a startup, you have to include there also business registration, permits, and then eventually patents. You have to apply for patent for some technology. And that's one thing I noticed. We are not very keen on really applying for patent for our, our inventions or things that are typically, you feel like, okay, it's all right, it's open source. But here, everybody is keen on patents, patent applications. So I am willing to share with you some resources on how you can go about filing for patents. Okay. So now list as much as possible all those potential operating costs or new business permit and licensing costs, everything that you could imagine. Plus, of course, software development. You will have to develop a software. And at the very least, at least here, the software development would range from at least $50,000 to, of course, depending on how sophisticated your program or your application would be. But think about that along those lines. You would definitely have to contract a software developer in designing that. So I know there are engineers here who are in a software development space. So probably you can ask them, consult with them. How much would it cost to get this app? Is this a mobile app or just a web-based application? This telemedicare, is it web-based or mobile?
Well, it's a base station, so essentially you can use any 5G device.
But is it only? Are you using only cell phones, so meaning it's mobile, or is it also available?
Yeah, the edge. Yeah, the edge technologies are commodity 5G.
Okay, so it's mostly mobile. All right. So you really would have to
For the end users, it's just commodity 5G, but they don't have smart or globe in the island. So we're looking at we're looking at ORAN as the infrastructure for them because there's market failure. The telcos don't want to go there because they don't have money to pay for the subscription.
I know that is really, you're right. It's market failure because is it supposed to be public goods? That is the government has to.
Yeah, government needs to step in and provide the technology. Yeah.
Exactly. So in that case, the technology is the driver. Definitely you would use the technology. But now as an end user, can I access it through cell phone only, or can I use it using my laptop or desktop or my mobile?
Well, internally, the driver to us in the call, it's technology, but from the citizen perspective, it's health services. So it depends on the packaging.
Okay. All right. So yes, that's critical. I think I have to clarify that very well because one of the value propositions, because I know this based on study, that especially for rural communities and even in far-flung sub-Saharan Africa, people don't have laptops and then don't have access to computers, but they have cell phones.
Correct.
And that's why I'm thinking that this product is mostly available to consumers through mobile.
Yes.
Right?
The laptops don't even have 5G, so they're not actually part of the equation in terms of the edge.
Because edge is only 5G.
And the people in the boondocks, they don't know how to use a laptop. So they probably have access to cell phones.
Yes, Perfect. That's exactly what I'm pointing at. Most of these people would have access to cell phone over laptop. So no
Yeah.
web application yet, but only mobile. Yes, Ryan.
Yes,
Ryan, yeah.
yes, thank you, thank you. Well, I would like to comment that maybe you should consider both, because laptops or computers can be sort of a facility where instead of visiting the health centers, they can just visit an e-telecare center. So that would also remember, if there are lots and lots of consumers for bandwidth, then there will be issues with connectivity eventually. So at least for those really who do not have a strong connectivity, at least one dedicated telemedicine center, for example, and the DICT can provide last mile connectivity as well. Then at least here comes a partnership with the government agencies.
Wow. Yes. Very good, Ryan. So you identified another value proposition there, because now you're giving opportunities for people without cell phone or those who could not access it to have this kind of like a kiosk where they could go to have a laptop or a desktop to have access to that. That's really accessibility. So yeah, I love the idea. So you can put that as a part of your value proposition. And in terms of channels, now you're adding web-based and mobile. But with this too, definitely in terms of, because we're here on the cost structure, we're talking about the cost of developing a software, because it will not magically appear on the App Store without a developer developing the program, right? So I don't know if you have already talked about that, because eventually this should be on the App Store that I can download. I want to have access to this, then I download this. So there's a software, and then I can now choose from the menu what I want to do, etc. But that's a cost. There's a cost component to that. All right. So connect with local computer shops owners. Whoa, yes, Cheryl. I love when you people are talking, you have a lot of great ideas instead of government providing. Yeah, it could be one government center, but you're right. There's a lot of local computer shops. So you have to think on how are you going to incentivize them for agreeing to be one of your key partners. But definitely you can do that, right? And also, how about kiosk in malls? Remember, DMV has kiosks in various malls now. You can renew your driver's license there. So probably one of the channels, going back to our right side here, the channels, you can think of kiosks in the malls, because those places are frequented by shoppers or by these communities. It depends on which area. Or it could be local libraries, local public schools, etc. Do we have at least a better understanding of what a business model canvas is? I posted the link to the mural. You don't have to create an account if you don't want to, because I set it up to be to accept visitors. So you don't have to have an account, but you can access this board just for this session. But maybe some of you here already have an account, so please continue using your account in accessing this. And we can now work together in completing your canvas, your BMC, in relation to your respective groups. I know Tony sent an email where everyone was grouped together. So do you know your group mates by now? Okay. So now we can, and then again, this is just still ideation stage. So don't worry about it. If you feel like, I am not comfortable and all that, it's all right. This is not graded or anything, but we're trying to get as much ideas or as much information just to make sure that we appreciate or we understand each section of the canvas. Okay, so where is it now? All right, let me go show my mural. Here we go. All right, so I see people already there on mural. Perfect. Now, we can work on another industry, because earlier we worked on healthcare. Now I'm open to accept another industry, and we can do another modeling here, so that later on you can work on it separately on your own respective groups. Or if you are confident already, I will leave it up to you. You can duplicate this mural for your groups. Because remember last time we had an exercise on how you can navigate using this platform or these boards. So we can do it again today if you want to have more practice. All right, but instead of just using something that is not applicable to this group, let us work together in one industry that is going to be represented for the competition on the 20th. I mean, for the pitch event on the 20th. I'm open both ways. Do you want us to work again on one example, or do you want to work independently? Because Richard here can group you, he can put you together in your own breakout rooms, then work on your own mural, and I'll visit each one of the rooms. Can't start the camera. Oh, I can see the history things. Okay. Maybe Richard can help you out with that, Alvin, because he can't show his camera, or he can't get it to work. Thank you, Richard. Oh, it's already with us. Okay, so we have 18 people in the room, 17 minus myself here. So you can work together with your team, and if you want, we can put you separately in a breakout room or in breakout rooms. Richard, would you mind helping me with that?
Let me check. I think in the webinar there is no there's no breakout room.
Oh,
It's only in the meeting mode.
It's
yeah,
only in
because you're using webinar, I forgot, yes.
Unless, Richard, I can create a Zoom link for a meeting and then we'll post it to everyone.
Yeah, we
Or-
can transfer to another Zoom meeting, and hopefully everybody will can join.
Okay, let me stop this and make it clear to everyone. So I'm sorry that we have to close this webinar session. Tony is going to create a meeting room where we can all group together, or where we can do the breakout rooms. So I'm looking forward to seeing you back in the other link.
How are we going to get the new link? Through email?
Yeah, we'll send it through email.
Oh, okay,
I
okay.
just realized I have to leave this Zoom first to be able to create another meeting room.
Okay,
Okay, like,
we'll check our email. Thank you.
okay.
Okay, I'll see you soon. Thank you, guys.